listening to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast about business, marketing, growth strategy, staff, clients, babies, and marriage. I'm Christina, joined by the handsome Peter Pilarski, and we are the founders and the leaders of CIPR Communications.
Hey everybody, how are you doing today?
So I feel like a question that we get asked often as a couple, but then also as business owners, is like, how do we find balance? And I thought that we could kind of talk about that today. And I'd like to be realistic about it and say, sometimes I don't find any balance.
Most of the time, I don't find balance.
I think it's.
I think we try where we can. It's tough, but I think we try.
Well, and I think when you run your own business, you make, I don't want to say sacrifices, but you make changes so that you can find balance.
We make sacrifices. Like, let me just be clear about something. Like, we both had great jobs. We got paid great money. Life was fucking easy. Let's just admit that. Now we're running a business, and it's like, okay, real world. So nothing against people working and doing jobs, but there's it's a very different world. And then we added kids on top of that. So yeah, there's just not a lot of room for balance, but I think we do okay.
I think what I would say to that from like a client perspective, because obviously a lot of our clients are business owners as well. And so I think we end up building quite strong bonds with a lot of them from kind of that persona or category, because we're dealing with the same things. I think about Marcy from Canadian Equality Consulting, who has built an amazing business, is kind of dealing with growth at the same time as us, is someone who I consider a great friend. And so like she gets it. Whereas I think about, some other clients who are also fabulous friends who, have, I don't know if I want to call it a luxury, but some days I get a bit jealous. Like I look at the amazing girls at Tourism Kamloops, and, they have one focus, and that's, Tourism Kamloops. Multiple projects and focuses. They balance a lot in terms of that. But it's also one of those things that really, I guess, I had to adjust how I balance from a professional perspective in terms of switching modes, right? Yeah. So, okay, for the first couple hours of the day, I am thinking about Tourism Kamloops, and I think I pride myself in being able to like really become part of the team. Okay, I'm on the Tourism Kamloops Slack, and I'm talking to them there, and I'm dealing with emails, and okay, time to switch modes, and now I'm going to go focus on something else. And I think clients sometimes forget about, even though we do a really great job at becoming part of the team, we're not a full-time team member. And I think that's sometimes where the balance is harder.
Yeah, although at the same time, and we talk about this sometimes, right? Sometimes there's corporate culture things, and sometimes, and when I say it was easy before, jobs are hard, organizations are hard, no matter what. But it's just different, right? Like like one of the things we talk about in running our own business sometimes when there's chaos or stuff happening in clients is like sort of, hey, well, you know what, we've done our piece, and now they got to kind of figure out themselves internally in terms of whatever conflict that's happening. And so we have, there's a balance or a positive on the other side with kind of our world, in that we sort of get to dabble in the worlds of different companies and different cultures, and sort of in and out like that, as opposed to being, if like there's a situation happening in a company, sort of that's it, and it's all consuming, and like we have avenues to get out. So there's balance in that sense, and certainly an ease. And we've talked about that many times, as the nice thing about owning your own company. And sometimes if clients don't work out, and sometimes they don't work out, and you move along and whatever, and there's whatever, you know what I'm saying. But so yeah, there's sort of balance on that end. But yeah, I sort of equate running your own business a little bit like kind of like being in university, where it's like, except for it doesn't end. There's no end of the semester. It's just like you constantly have projects, you constantly have deliverables, you constantly have exams, you constantly have like something else to figure out. It's like sort of like just like this ongoing university experience where it feels like it's just like all encompassing all the time.
Yeah, I think going back to your kind of getting exposed to so many different companies, I feel like it's allowed us to build our corporate culture. And I feel like there's another balance that we have to strike between, building a company and building relationships with clients. And we talked about this, I think, a couple episodes ago, but just that, like, the importance of putting yourself as your own best client. And we didn't do that for a lot of years. And I think about, as a strategic marketing agency, coming into client meetings where they were having growth conversations or they were struggling with growing pains and they were wondering what their communications program was looking or their marketing program, and you and I being able to facilitate conversations with boards. And I think all of those experiences then allowed us to start to build our own corporate culture. I think for me, it became really evident in working with a couple clients where it was like, if these guys would have had a strong corporate culture and would have found a balance between, internal and external communications early on, I don't think they'd be in this spot. But that for me was and still is something that I end up considering a lot as I think about a balance between running a business and also running a business that's focused on other people's businesses.
Totally. Yeah. Shifting gears on balance though, we had a fantastic workout today, boxing. Disco boxing as one of my friends once called it, but Christina and I love to go to a place called Rumble Boxing Studio, give them some props, but you go and you pound a heavy bag under disco lights and loud music for about an hour, and
I feel
just get
like
all the rage out.
you're aging yourself calling it the disco.
Just somebody called it once that for me, and I was like, okay, fair enough. It's not like it's not like boxing against someone else. It's anyways. Regardless,
club meets nightclub is their tagline.
Oh, there you go. Anyways, so physical activity is critically important to balance and feeling a sense of balance, and
yeah,
I think we've been doing that quite well. It's hard, definitely hard, and managing babies and whatever. And like today, we went, and I gotta admit my day was not as productive as probably it could have been because we chose to go boxing and get a good workout in and whatever. But you know what, like at the end of the last week, I was so bagged, tired, and physically feeling unhealthy that I couldn't get anything done anyway. So I feel like tomorrow is going to be a stellar day because today was a great physical day. And so balance is critical, right?
I remember early on when I was like started doing this and consulting and doing a lot of really content writing. And I was talking to a consultant that I was subcontracting for, and she said for her, the biggest thing in stepping out on her own was that there was no one to like reward her, or like there was no time off. Like you weren't booking a vacation anymore, or you weren't like, oh, we had a great quarter, here's a bonus, or right. And so that always stuck with me. So her big thing was whenever she landed a big contract, and she was a sole proprietor, so it was like whenever she landed a big contract, she would treat herself to something that she normally wouldn't have. So her latest purchase 6 years ago was like a fancy coffee machine at home, right? Like she couldn't run upstairs to Starbucks in the plus 15 anymore. So she did that. And I think similar to like the boxing or the forced time off or the whatever, it's like, I think you and I have both fallen into weeks, months where you're like, I have so much to do, I just need to keep working, and we don't schedule those things in. And I have to say that like if I didn't have a calendar and I didn't schedule that time, I wouldn't have balance. I mean, I even have the kids' school pickups in my calendar, and when I'm waking up early and not. And for me, and if you like have known me for any length of time, I like my sleep, and like I have suddenly transformed into a person that wakes up at 4:30 in the morning because that's how I'm finding balance. Like I can focus in on tasks that nobody is bothering me, and then I can have a break and get the kids to school and spend time. We can spend time as a family in the morning, and then I'm back at my desk. Or sometimes those early morning wake ups are like, and now I get to go boxing and do my own thing. And I've had to really reframe, I would say, this entire year around self-care and like what is the me time. Because when you run your own business, and I think when you run a communications agency, you don't have me time.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think me time or putting yourself first as a business owner, one of the books I would really recommend to any entrepreneurs out there is Profit First. And it's really it's really shifting the entire financial picture of your business. Like the way business normally is run is like, you know, revenue minus expenses, minus taxes, minus everything else. And then what's left is maybe some money for the business owners. What a terrible existence. Like, and we were there, right? Where it's like, oh, at the end of the month, great, we got some money left over to, you know, figure out how to pay whatever. It's like, that's a horrible existence. And like, you got to put yourself first as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, because if you're not okay, like people rely on you, clients rely on you, your spouse, your children, everybody's relying on you, right? And so like, so important, put yourself first, get that balance figured out, because if you burn yourself out, you're just going to fail anyways faster, right? So
it's true.
It's a long game. Have a long view.
On that note, we have not solved the problem of balance, but we are getting there. And I think that, you know, the schedule is important, and keeping each other accountable is important too.
Yeah. I always think about, last note is thinking about it. I always think about a business as like pushing a rock up a hill for a really long time. Eventually you get to the top of the hill, and eventually it starts to get easier. I feel like we're kind of getting to the top of the hill, or at least there's some light at the end of the tunnel. So,
well, there you go. See you at the top of the hill.
exactly.
Well, okay, let's go find some balance.
Sounds good.